Jeff Hartman Network.
¡Por Jorgito! ¡Goes down! Najee Harris! DJ Watt!
What is up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I am Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. Dave, what's up? We're back.
We are back. We have one practice down. What is it? 14 more to go. I should have counted those up. None with pads yet, but we'll get to that next week. Bring on the joy and busyness that is Pittsburgh Steelers football season.
Absolutely. Bryan Davis, welcome to the show.
Yes, I like joy that Dave said. So that makes me think of Terry Jacks and the hit song Seasons in the Sun from 50 years ago in 1974. But it was a sad ending because it was a girl that died at the beach, something like that. But I'm thinking here, when we talk about seasons in the sun, pre-seasons in the sun, it is joyful. So we will have joy, we will have fun, and we will have very dumb questions like Mike Tomlin wearing white.
We are going to talk all about the latest news, and that's going to be the main crux of today's podcast. I mean, the Steelers get back on the practice field where they call it practice. They have parameters. They're not wearing pads yet, but what we want to talk about is we want to talk to the fans for a second, because remember, we are fans, and we want to avoid those knee-jerk reactions. Those knee-jerk. I feel like the best example of this, and there's a multitude of examples from just today's practice Thursday. So this is after practice. Ray Fittipaldo, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, goes on 93.7 The Fan. And he's on with Andrew Filipponi, who honestly, I despise that guy anymore. I just can't stand the way he maneuvers himself in the media world is just sickening to me. But nonetheless, and he says that at the end of practice today, George Pickens and the new wide receivers coach, is it Azani is his name, I believe? They get into a heated discussion. That's what Ray Fittipaldo said. And what does Filipponi do? Let's blow it up. Let's make this be some huge deal. As if George Pickens and Azani are meeting for the very first time today at training camp, that they've never met. They've never worked together. And this is that knee-jerk reaction, because now there's fans that are already saying, and we said this, Bryan and I did, starting to say, well, Pickens is going to be a problem. Pickens is going to be a problem, the attitude. So that's an example of a knee-jerk reaction of there can be one-offs in training camp. Pickens could be tired. Pickens could be frustrated. Azani wants him to run a crisper route. He says, come on, man, do your job. And he says, hey, why don't you get off my back? It happens. It happens. But a knee-jerk reaction is saying, oh, these guys, they're prima donnas. They get paid too much, blah, blah, blah. That's an example. So, Dave, I'm going to start with you. Can you think of your own example of something that you saw today at training camp that you're thinking, my gosh, this is going to get blown out of proportion. The knee-jerk reactions are going to be off the hook?
Yes. Now, it doesn't mean that there's nothing to it.
Right. Yeah.
You got to remember that. It doesn't mean that there could be some there. But you're ready. Beanie Bishop out there running the ones with at slot corner.
That's a good one.
That's going to be one that everyone's going to say, here it is. Here's the next guy. Or, oh, my goodness, the Steelers are so screwed at cornerback because they have to have a guy like that out there. You're going to see both ends of the spectrum, in my opinion. But I think that's one that could really get blown out of proportion.
Bryan, are you taking the low-hanging fruit here? Well, what's a storyline from today?
I have to take the two-headed low-hanging banana here. And it's simple. It's Russell Wilson is hurt, and Justin Fields is now the superstar in camp. Now, that is a great headline here, but look deeper and find out that Russell Wilson was throwing at the end of camp, and there was video of him throwing after a practice ended. Also, the fact that he woke up and wanted to go, and Mike Tomlin said, whoa, Russ, or as Omar Khan calls him, Ross. I swear he's been watching episodes of Friends, because unless I'm wrong, it's coming out Ross when he talks. So, and he's a well-spoken guy, but for some reason, I think his name is Ross. And so this is the Ross and Rachel show now with these two guys. Justin Fields, I guess, being Rachel. I don't know. But all I'm going to say about this is, yeah, it's day one. I remember last year on day one, we could talk about all kinds of knee-jerk reactions. And right away, Broderick Jones was a bust after one practice. Actually, I think that was a rookie minicamp. He was a bust. Everybody, I mean, they were all over that. So there's a lot. I have something special to say about Broderick Jones later on in the show, but there are some very good things coming out of camp. And these knee-jerk reactions, just hold up, let it play out.
And another one, and I'll continue this trend here in outside of the George Pickens throw, which we can talk about that in a second. Is that the rookies were not with the ones in terms of the offensive line. Zach Frazier was behind Nate Herbig. Dan Moore was at left tackle. Broderick Jones is at right. Troy Falatano was with the twos. And everyone's like, oh, here we go. Same old song and dance. Get ready for Dan Moore to start at left tackle. It's like, okay, what happened after Dan Moore left and then Broderick Jones moves to the left side? Troy Falatano takes over at right. But again, a lot of people want to draw these really hasty conclusions to just one thing that happens in one practice of, like Dave said, 15 or 16 practices in a preseason. There's still a lot that could happen. Is anything else spark your interest, Dave, that you've covered today on the tracker that you're like, man, people are going to blow this out of proportion?
Well, the biggest mistake I could ever do is sometimes I want to take one of those posts that I'm putting in the tracker from X, and in order to get the link to it, sometimes it accidentally clicks on it. And what's the problem with clicking on it? Then you see comments.
Oh.
And that is the problem with these types of platforms, is you have to avoid comments. But my goodness, did I see people blow up in the comments when Broderick Jones was not the left tackle for the very first snap of team period in the very first practice. Now, if you listen, this is something that I've been saying for a long time, that where Broderick Jones ends up playing probably has less to do with Broderick Jones and so much more to do with the other guys. So, and we've also talked about when we had our Source podcast about how if Fautanu grabs that job, they're not going to hold him back. But my goodness, did you really expect there was people, I'm like, and Dummy Me started to see it. So I'm like, what else is saying? Oh, that's even worse. They're calling the Steelers front office frauds. They told us he was going to be the left tackle. Why isn't he there right now? Calm down, people. We know that he's the swing tackle. He's the swing tackle, even though he's your best tackle, because he's the guy that's good enough to play both sides, and they're not asking Fautanu to do it in his first year, which I think eventually he's going to be a guy that can play both sides as well. So calm down. Don't overreact to that. It's the first day. It's the first practice. We'll see what happens come September.
All right, so let's switch it up a bit, and we can obviously talk about the knee-jerk reactions for sure as we go throughout the news, but there was a lot of news that happened between Wednesday post-run test when Mike Tomlin met with the media, again Thursday when Mike Tomlin met after the practice and Omar Khan's press conference, which we've alluded to that already once. Bryan, is there anything that stood out today that you just wanted to discuss?
Yeah, and we just talked about him, and I teased this earlier that I was going to talk about something special with Broderick Jones. You see Broderick Jones coaching Troy Fautanu.
Yeah.
And that when I saw that picture, when I saw actually video of it, and it was really interesting to see. He was down. You could tell that the teacher was being paid attention to, and the student was willing to learn. And the teacher, being Broderick Jones, was also he was a very credible source of information to Fautanu. So this is really good. You have a lot of assemblances of team here that I thought was really neat to see. So these knee-jerk reactions, let it play out. Camp's not one day, like Dave kind of alluded to. Let this stuff play out. But are we to think, Jeff and Dave, that on the first day of training camp, you throw all your cards on the table and say, these guys start, these guys don't? No, this is a developing story. It always is. Same with the Zach Azzini George Pickens thing. I'm going to say something real quick about that as well. I just give you, and I know Jeff, being a very big Pittsburgh Pirates fan, you could go back to 1992 and remember Jim Leland, another sport, but Jim Leland and Barry Bonds. And Jim Leland, I mean, just cussing them. No one could cuss and smoke at the same time like Jim Leland did in front of the cameras.
He read him the riot act.
Yeah, and guess what? It works. That's called coaching. It's called relationships. Hey, how many times have you been a jerk to your wife and kids just when you're trying to get a point across and trying to get them to learn a lesson? And they actually, in my house, it's more they're trying to get me to learn a lesson, and I'm the old guy in the house. But this is not, like Dave said, made the mistake, read the comment section. Oh my gosh, they were horrible. The comments were horrible. It's like somebody wanted to ship them off to China. Somebody called him a thug. Someone blamed it all on Mike Tomlin and said, oh, wait, no, we have to blame this on Kenny Pickett too. It's like, oh my goodness. Stop.
Yeah, that story in itself. Dave, did you want to talk about anything? Any thoughts on the Pickens Azani situation?
No.
Okay.
Honestly, it's just now. Is it something that means you might pay attention to it as time goes on? Sure, but it's not. I don't even know enough about it to feel like I have a relevant opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dave, you've coached. I've coached, even high school kids. There's times where things are maybe not going the way you want for the coach or the player, and you say something, they kind of say something back, and then you just leave it. Like, that can happen. That can absolutely happen. We have a super chat. I want to get this on the screen quickly. $5 from Nicholas Gabriel. Thank you very much for the tip. He said, first time going to training camp next week. Also, conspiracy. I love conspiracy theories. He said, sat out today intentionally for the quarterback controversy. LOL. Gotta love the media drama. I love the conspiracy theory. I don't agree with it, but I love that thought process. So it'll be interesting. I do think it was great for Justin Fields just to get the experience of getting that many repetitions with the starters, whether it was 7-on-7, whether it was 11-on-11 team drills. I do want to do something that's just kind of precautionary out there. And I talk about this on my Let's Ride podcast on Friday morning. Anyone that's watching some of these clips, Dave put some of them in the tracker. You can find them on social media, even just people that are in the stands filming with their phones. There are these clips and they're like, oh man, what a phenomenal play. But then you watch it back and you're thinking to yourself, okay, let's imagine that it's not team versus team. It's actually opponent, offense, defense, and they're allowed to hit. So I'll give you an example. Let's go back to last year. There's a play at training camp. Kenny Pickett drops back to pass. The pocket's collapsing. He escapes, no pads, mind you, and rumbles down the field for like a 40-yard gain. Fans are going nuts. I watch it back and I'm thinking, if there's pads and that's another team, he probably gets sacked on the play. So the same thing happens similar to today. Justin Fields drops back. He is doing a design bootleg. Deshaun Elliott rushes off the edge, and Justin Fields has to basically do a U-turn, and he hits Jaylen Warren for a big gain down the sideline, which looks great. But Deshaun Elliott, you watch him, he just puts his arms up. Like, I'm not touching this guy. He would have sacked the quarterback. The same with Peyton Wilson. That closing speed, my gosh, I shared that on my Twitter. The closing speed he had against, I think, Kyle Allen was remarkable. And there was someone in the comments saying, oh my gosh, like, why didn't he hit the quarterback? Because you don't hit the quarterback in training camp. So with these videos that are awesome, I know it's fun. I know it's exciting, but you sometimes have to look at it through a lens of, this was really football. Would this actually be happening? And most of the time it's no. Just so we're clear. So, Dave, anything else stand out to you today that you want to bring up?
Honestly,
I've got something.
I was going to say that outside of, they said he looked like he was dealing with cramps, Connor Hayward, it doesn't seem like anybody was hurt.
How about a Hall of Famer showing up and being on the sideline?
There you go. That was a great picture, Troy and Minka.
Troy and Minka, knee, like on one knee next to each other. Gosh, I'm soaking in, Minka. Like, take all that Troy Polamalu juice, grow your hair out, all that stuff. Take in all that knowledge. I love that. I was, gosh, this is awesome. Anyone else notice that Troy's been coming around a little bit more? After his retirement, he wasn't around very much. He's been coming around more. I like seeing that. Bryan, what were your thoughts?
And it's not tiny Troy in the Head and Shoulders commercial. It's full size Troy.
Yeah.
Now, I like to see that. This reminds me of, and it took an awful long time from 1984 to 2002 to get Terry Bradshaw back there. It took, 18 years. But it's nice to see that Troy Polamalu, gets it and understands it as even more. And he's embracing his Steelers roots once again. It's also, it also reminds me of 2005, that Super Bowl year, when the Steelers were in the AFC Championship game in Denver. Who was representing the Pittsburgh Steelers at the coin toss? It was Rod Woodson. Almost 10 years from being away, he comes back and he's like, all right, I'm back. This is my team. There takes sometimes hurt feelings take some time, whether it's in life or whether it's in business, to kind of go away. So, that kind of stuff kind of changes, and it's nice to see. But having Troy there as a representative just shows more and more how great the history of this team is, and it keeps on getting better when they come back and wanting to be that mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get the super chat here. Brandon Diaz gave us $4.99. He said, "Dear fans, GP and the wide receiver coach getting into it is a non-story. Do not overreact. Also, glad super chats are back. So are we. We're glad super chats are back too. People that want to donate to the show. It's simple to go down to, if you're on YouTube, is how you can give a super chat donation. We do appreciate it. Just go down to the comments and there should be a little dollar sign next to it, I think. And that's how you donate some money. Dave, any thoughts on Troy?
SCN YouTube? That's the only way you can do it.
Correct.
If you're watching it from another place, that's just not how it works.
That is correct. Dave, anything about Troy that you wanted to mention?
It's just, I'll be honest with you. I put that tweet in the tracker and was moving so fast, I didn't actually notice who it was until I saw a retweet and saw it again. I'm like, wait, that's Troy. Because I was, I'm just so caught up in, got to keep up, got to get the info out there for everybody. And that's when I really stopped to appreciate it. So I think that's pretty cool. And like you said, the fact that he's hanging around the team now, which was something you didn't see before, it's just, I love to see it. I was there for his last game with the Steelers and that horrible playoff loss where the Steelers had to call running backs off the street in order to start. And you could just see that Troy was just a guy. He wasn't Troy at that time because his style of play just wore him down. But man, he's just got so much that he could give even now to this organization, just in how to conduct yourself as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
It's a great way to put it. Bryan, anything else you wanted to bring up from practice today or anything from camp?
Yeah, it's actually, you know what? I'm going to save that for my final thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Holding out content for us, he is now.
Yes. So hey, there's reason to stick around.
There you
Sorry,
go. I like.
Sorry. Jeremiah Yoda's going to be upset. I was sounding more like Yoda than Chewbacca the way I said that.
Well, he said Jeremiah Yoder said that Dave Schofield in a Polamalu afro. He'd pay good money to see that. So I don't know.
Okay, $10,000 in the super chat.
In the super chat,
we'll do it.
Well, what can we raise there?
Here's a super chat from Sean Manahan. He gives us $5. Thank you very much. He said, "Will the new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith allow Najee to run up the middle?" I'm pretty sure that Arthur Smith is a power running scheme. It's a zone blocking scheme, and sometimes it's outside zone. I've learned this from Kevin Smith from doing shows with him and talking with him. But at the same time, I think Najee Harris has to also choose to run up the middle. If the holes are there, I think he'll hit those holes. But at the same time, I don't know if all the things that we see as bad or deem as negative are indicative of the player's issue. Dave, what's your take on this? You're muted, Dave. Gosh darn it.
Okay, sorry, as my dog was going crazy. Yeah, I was trying to also look back there and see, because I know Nick Farabaugh said something to the effect of, Arthur Smith running a lot of outside zone, blah, blah, blah. and the Steelers ran a lot of it today. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? What do you think about that?
It's we're talking about can you rephrase that for me too? Because I got a little confused with the dog barking and not barking and not hearing it. Could you repeat the question, please?
Repeat. Oh, it was the $5 super chat about will the new OC allow Najee to run up the middle?
That's what I thought it was. It's basically, I like what you all said there. It's really what he's comfortable with and how you go ahead and scheme this team. So yeah, anything's possible here. It's just how he shows and who your best option to do that is. And if they feel that it's Najee Harris, and I would probably think it would be, you'll see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's, the last thing I want to bring up before we take a break is the players that are injured. So we found out on Wednesday that the players in the PUP list, one of which, Cole Holcomb, we kind of expected that. I think we could all say that's was expected. I wasn't, and this is something Mike Tomlin labeled as a soft tissue injury for Dean Lowry. And so, Dave, do me a favor if you know the answer. If Dean Lowry suffered a hamstring injury, what can land him on PUP and what can land him on the non-football injury list, like where Cordero Patterson is?
So the difference there, probably whether it occurred at the facility or not.
Okay,
is probably the best way to say that. I don't, and that's me just going from what I think.
Okay.
That and that's why they bring these things up when in the past players saying we're skipping OTAs, we're working out our own, and then they have to remind them, hey, you get hurt on your own, that's going to be against you. You get hurt here at the facility, that's covered. Yeah. So I don't know if that's the only difference, but that's the way I would probably look at it. That Lowry's might be something that was lingering from OTAs or during something else. But I really don't know. I'm just taking a shot.
That's fine. All right. Let's I was just curious about that. Brian, actually, let's take a break. I'll ask you this question when we come out of the break. We're going to talk about a couple things with training camp before we get to trivia. For those watching live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, we're not going anywhere for those on the audio side. We'll be right back after this break. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. And we're talking training camp as we should because it's the first day of training camp. And although it's just football and shorts, it's still exciting. But Brian, I want to ask you looking ahead now. I want you to think about who are some players that you're excited to see for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you think they might have a shot at making the 53 roster. Maybe it's someone that you like for whatever reason. Give me a couple players you're looking to see for the remainder of camp.
All right, here's one that is going to surprise you. I'll actually give you two because they're pretty much in the same position, more or less. And it's Larry Ogunjobi, because it looked like he had some good reports. And I also saw him attacking pads today and just really looking, tackling dummies or pads or whatever you want to call them. Or what do you call those, Dave? You're the football guy. The truck or, when they're holding the pads. Sled. There we go.
No. The sled is when it's attached to the big piece of metal. You got to push it around. Yeah, it's just we just call them pads. I don't know, just where you hold it and they smack into it. Yeah,
he looked lighter and he looked stronger. Now the other guy is DeMarvin Leal, who Nick Farabaugh actually put on his list as a guy that is really showed up in camp today. So, I mean, he had a very good performance when he listed 3 players. I was surprised to see DeMarvin on that list. But I think the number one guy that I'm excited about is I think everybody's getting more and more excited about this guy. And I could probably list 12 more dudes. But Keanu Benton. And when I talk about Keanu Benton, the question that was asked of both Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan, you expect him to rise up, and they're like, yeah, he better. And then Keanu Benton said, yeah, I better. I expect it. I better. This guy, I think this guy is the one we worry about being another player that you can't keep because he's just amazing. Reminds me of Javon Hargrave. Not the same type of player, but the same type of situation.
I think it's a good comp. I think it's a good comparison. So, all right, those are good. Dave, what about you? Any players you're particularly looking forward to seeing?
I'm not going to gush all over Keanu Benton because I've been doing it for months. I'm ready for him to be the man this year. Just blow it away. Here's a name. This is a name that I had on my potential camp darlings. Heard about him today. Even catching a pass from the fullback position. That's right. How about Jack Coletto? Let's talk about him, and let's see if the Steelers could actually keep a fullback on the roster that would be a fullback and use them for more than 4 or 5 plays in a game. Don't know that it'll happen. I could keep dreaming, but Jeff might even know this. Just to hint a little bit, when we go to do our 53-man roster prediction coming up here before too long in the next several days, I might have to remember that guy as well then.
For me, I'm going to steal Brandon Keene here. He gave us $1.99. Thank you very much for the tip. He said the law office of Wilson, Wilson, and Wilson. So those are 3 players that I am very excited to see. I saw that video I shared on Peyton Wilson. You could say what you want, and I said it earlier in the show about how it's in shorts, there's no pads. What Peyton Wilson did, though, it wouldn't matter if there was full contact or not. He was an unabated rusher to the quarterback. It was his closing speed. Holy crap. Haven't seen something like that since Ryan Shazier, and that's not an exaggeration. So I'm really excited to see what Peyton Wilson can do when the pads come on and he's actually able to go out there and hit someone. Roman Wilson. I didn't hear much from him today, just from tracking things online. That doesn't mean he had a bad practice. That doesn't mean anything. Just means we didn't hear anything. And then obviously Russell Wilson. I am curious and intrigued by what he still has, and I want to see what he can do. So that'll be interesting to see. But man, Peyton Wilson, I watched that video, I swear, 100 times. And every time I was like, good Lord, that guy can run. I mean, he looked like a deer. The finishing speed of when he crossed the line of scrimmage to getting to the quarterback, remarkable. Absolutely. They've got to find a way to get him on the field in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, if you want to look at stuff just from today, first of all, he was the first player on the field.
True.
For the first practice. Second of all, I'm pretty sure the one report was, looks like the Steelers weren't afraid to rotate their linebackers, that it was at times, this is just some observations one person's making. It's not that it was exactly set in stone like this the whole time, but it was Queen and Roberts in your more traditional defenses. And when it went all the way to a dime package, it was Wilson that was in there as the linebacker.
He's a smart guy. So, all right, this has been good. I hope that we gave everyone a little bit of a rundown of what happened today at training camp. We weren't there, but there was no 7 shots. They did 11-on-11 work, 7-on-7 individual drills. That was about it. And Mike Tomlin was asked, by the way, why did practice get moved up? It wasn't because of the heat. It was all because of the schedule in the evening and having to make sure that the players had enough time for dinner and they could still make adjustments before the players go off to their dorm rooms at night. Interesting thoughts there from the coach as I heard his
But didn't it screw up lunch?
Probably not. That's probably your post
10:30 to 12:30 practicing. Yeah,
eat afterwards.
Yeah,
but Tomlin talked about making sure they're eating and all of that.
Yeah. So, all right.
Dinner's more important anyway. It really is.
Let's do some trivia. Brian, do you have trivia tonight? You're muted, Brian.
Can I defer to Dave there first, though?
Sure.
Sure. Brian's not ready. Brian's not ready.
No, I need 30 more seconds. So
sure. It's no big deal. I got it. We're playing a game for mine. We're playing a game that I know Brian likes. We'll have to see if Jeff.
He's not even going to be able to pay attention.
Oh,
no,
he'll pay attention.
I am done. I'm ready. You want me to go first? I can go now.
That's up to Jeff.
Why is it up to me?
Do you want to play the game first, or do you want to do Brian's trivia first?
Go ahead, Brian. Let's go.
All right.
You do your trivia first.
So we just talked about Peyton Wilson, and I love the fact that he was the first guy on the field today for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love it. I think that's fantastic. This guy is ready to go. Somebody, I don't know whether it was national media. I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it was national media. Put something out yesterday. I believe it was on NFL.com. Could Peyton Wilson be the defensive rookie of the year? And, that made me think, wow, people are starting to take notice of this guy and go ahead and, calm down a bit. But got me thinking about this being the 40th anniversary of the Joe Green Great Performance Award. So my question to you is, Peyton Wilson's a linebacker. How many linebackers have been named Joe Green, rookie of the year, basically? I'm not going to go into great performance and all that. Who's the rookie of the year? There's been 40 of them. How many linebackers? And then I have more questions to go on to that, but go ahead first with the linebackers.
How many linebackers?
Does that include outside linebackers?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Is that
I'm just going with linebackers altogether.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see how many. Well, I mean, Jeff, you want to try to think about this? No, because remember that. First of all, there's 40 of them. I would think right now you're probably cutting that number in half just based on how many have been offense, how many have been defense. Right, Jeff?
I think that's a safe assumption.
Okay. So I'm trying to think. Was it TJ Watt? Was it him?
TJ Watt's one of them.
Okay, because that's what I was gonna say. If he was one, I
guess
don't
was
think
10.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. TJ Watt was not.
It was because it was Juju, right?
It was Juju. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. It was the
Yes. So, because that's what I was going to say. I don't know. Was it Devin Bush his rookie year?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one. And that's the last linebacker.
Are we
to
supposed to be just guessing the number or the players?
Or the number, but go ahead. You can throw out who they are.
I'm assuming Ryan Shazier was as well. So I'm just trying to count them up. So let's
Ryan
see.
Shazier was not.
He was it Tuitt?
Nope.
Then who was it that year? Bryan.
Another wide receiver.
They didn't even play
Bryant.
Bryant half the season.
Martavis Bryant, when he came on in week 6, he caught fire.
Yeah. I didn't think he'd get it because he didn't play for so long. I can't think of that many there, Jeff, that would actually get it.
Stick him with 10.
I'll go 6.
We have a winner. Ding, 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 ding. Jeff says 10. It's 6. So Davey's got it, and it's the lowest.
Well, I assume like 2007 had to be either Timmons or Woodley, so that was going to be one regardless.
You said Timmons or Woodley? No,
it wasn't even one of them.
No, it was a punter that year. Dan Sepulveda
that year.
Well, Kendrell Bell would have been one, right?
Yeah, Kendrell Bell would have been
Bell. Absolutely, in 2001, he got it over Big Snack.
He was the NFL defensive player, the rookie of the year. So how many? That's what,
all
3
right,
did we guess?
Ask, who got it in 2003? Because people weren't high on Troy Polamalu.
It was Troy,
but he did get it.
But remember that was a small draft,
very small draft.
Alonzo
Jackson, Ike Taylor, Brian St. Pierre. It had to be one of those 4.
Yeah.
Did Jason Worlds win it? No.
Jason Worlds never won it. No. Okay. So I'll go ahead and give you the 6.
Okay.
And this was another question, but I'm going to, in the sake of time, I'm not going to ask it. But the lowest pick to ever get it was in 1986. Anthony Henton was a round 9 linebacker. Really? Chad Brown got it in 1993. He was a second rounder. In 2001, we mentioned Kendrell Bell already. In 2008, one of 2 undrafted players to win it. 2008, they won the Super Bowl, and an undrafted player won it, Patrick Bailey.
Well, yeah, because Mendenhall got hurt. Lima Swede was terrible. Who else was there in that draft? Dennis Dixon? Yeah. So that makes sense.
And then you have a number 1 pick in here, Bud Dupree.
Dupree.
And then, of course, Devin Bush.
Okay.
So my final question.
Well, Bud Dupree, Bud Dupree had a little bit easier because the second round pick, is the biggest bust in Steelers history.
Sanquez Golson.
Yeah, that's a shame. He shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
He definitely shouldn't.
Sorry.
How many punters won this award? We mentioned Sepulveda.
Rookie punters.
It's got to be more than one.
Did Colquitt win it back in
Did not exist.
Okay. When did you say it
84. Started 84.
I was thinking 74. I don't know why I was thinking 74. 84. Okay. Punters.
Did you know that they were going to rename this award the Colin Holba Award? But he declined and said, "I can't do that. Joe Green means too much to the NFL and the Steelers, so just keep it away."
I think they were. The other punter was Harry Newsome in 1985, the second award winner, round 8, and they actually had 2 round 8 players. The other round 8 player. This is my second to the last question here. The other round 8 player is a very special player who wore one of the best numbers in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Who is that? The other round 8 player. I'll even give you the year. 1992.
They were still 8 rounds then.
Still 12.
Oh, that's right. I've got a shot.
I think you're going to get it because I know you. I know how you think. Go ahead.
Was it 92? I know he was drafted around that time, and I know he was later in the draft, so I don't know if he was 92 or round 8. But I'm going to take a shot.
Yeah, I know you got it.
Inspired by my brother's middle name, Darren Perry.
It is Darren Perry. He had a phenomenal rookie year in 1992. 6 interceptions, played all 16 games that year. And
that was Cower Power starting off.
And I'll tell you, I think number 39 is one of the best numbers in Pittsburgh Steelers history, actually recent history, for who you have there. The final question, what position has the most? And it's not linebacker at 6.
It's not punter.
Wide receiver?
It is wide receiver.
Good job, Jeff.
Do you want them real quick? I'll give them to you. Lewis Lips in 1984. Then there was a lull for a while until 1999. Troy Edwards. Santonio Holmes in 2006. Mike Wallace, a 3rd rounder in 2009. Martavis Bryant, the 4th rounder in 2014. Juju Smith-Schuster, we talked about. Chase Claypool in 2020 was the last one. There you go.
There you have it. Good stuff.
Not Plaxico Burress?
Plexico, no. I mean, you got to remember. Oh, Plexico lost to an undrafted free agent. The other undrafted free agent who we did not unveil, and he was a fullback. Do you know who that would be in 2000? University of New Hampshire.
It's not Dan Kreider, is it?
Dan Kreider. Dan Kreider beat out Plexico.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is a little game. It's all going to take very long just because I couldn't go too much because, as you guys will see, I was very limited with options. The question is, how well do you know the Steelers' current 91-man roster? Do you know all those players on that roster? Because we're about to play a game that Bryan really loves called Two Truths and a Lie.
Oh, I love 2 truths and a lie. Yeah.
I'm going to give you 3 names. 2 of them are currently on the Steelers roster. 1 of them is not. Can you pick the correct name of who is not on the Steelers currently?
Now, are there any tricks here?
What do you mean tricks?
Are there any tricks?
They're on the roster. They're not, Brian.
Well, no. I mean, there could be
trick.
There could be somebody that is. I mean, does it count if they're on the injured list?
You wouldn't know that.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I know you like to swerve. Jeff, he likes to swerve, doesn't he?
I mean, if I say Cole Holcomb, I have a feeling you're going to know that. Okay.
I don't trust you, Dave. Sometimes I trust you in life, but with games,
this is fun. Okay, you ready?
Hit me.
Here we go.
And Jeff.
Here you go. Round 1. We only got 4 rounds. Round 1. Jacob Copeland, Jeray Jenkins, or Len Barnum.
Copeland is not on the roster.
I'm going to go with Len Barnum. I think Jeff's right, though.
Okay, so right now we have Jeff says Copeland, Bryan says Barnum. Here's the deal. Jacob Copeland is currently a wide receiver on the Steelers roster. Jeray Jenkins is also a wide receiver on the Steelers roster. Len Barnum was the second ever draft pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1936, the only quarterback selected in that draft and he was from West Virginia Wesleyan University.
Oh, the pride of Buchanan, West Virginia.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was the only quarterback taken in the first NFL draft by any team. And that was by the Steelers. Okay.
Wow.
You ready? All right. Some of these, my problem
I used to rent vans to West Virginia Wesleyan.
Yeah. I can't always read my handwriting. Okay. So you've got to give me another second to double check. I can't read that name. So we'll get there. Give me just a second. It won't take long. Okay. I was right. All right. You ready? Steve Owen, Devery Hamilton, or Anderson Hardy?
Who's it? Steve Owen? Is that the first one?
Yep. Steve Owen, Devery Hamilton, Anderson Hardy.
Gonna go Steve Owen's not on the team.
I'm going with Jeff. I'm going for the tie, Steve Owen.
Okay, you guys are both correct. Steve Owen is a Hall of Fame offensive tackle of the New York Giants from the 1940s. Devery Hamilton is an offensive tackle for the Steelers, and Anderson Hardy is also an offensive tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anderson Hardy out of Appalachian State, and Devery Hamilton from Duke. Okay? All right. Moving on. We've got Jacob Slade, Larry Moore, Kalen Barnes.
I'm going to say Larry Moore is not on the team.
Who's the first one? Because I think Kalen Barnes. Jacob Slade, I think, is on the team. You know what? I'm probably, let's go Larry Moore as well.
Okay, you're both going with Larry Moore. Larry Moore was the final draft pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the famed 1974 draft. Okay. Jacob Slade is a defensive tackle, and Kalen Barnes is a cornerback on the Steelers roster. So there we go. Badge 3 for 3 and Jeff's 2 for 3. Not so bad. Okay, last one. Let's see if we can do this. All right. I've once again messed up my okay, got it. Okay. We've got Grayland Arnold, Nathan Meters, or Jalen K.
Jalen K. I researched the other two.
Yeah, I was going to say K as well.
Who is Jalen K? He's Mr. Irrelevant from 2024. He's on the New York Jets. Grayland Arnold is a safety, and so is Nathan Meters. Or
all right.
Meters, however you say it.
Yeah. So, I've been looking at those guys. because I've been looking at the slot corner situation. I've been looking at the defensive back. So that one was the easiest one. The other three were very hard, but I have to concede, even though I was 4 for 4, I'm sure Jeff's a great golfer. And if I played golf with Jeff, he'd have a much better handicap than me. When it comes to this, I've got a better handicap than Jeff. So Jeff,
or it also kind of helped that, you had a putt 6 inches inside of where Jeff's was, and you just watched him go and got the read off of his putt. So then that way you could step up and bury it, since Jeff.
Well, also, there's not many Larrys and Steves drafted these days. I know Larry Ogunjobi, but there's, Larry and Steve, or Keelan and Jalon. And, it's, I mean, I kind of Jacob, there's more Jacobs,
Hey,
we
were
just
having
percentages too.
Hey, this was better than the Family Feud edition where you had to guess which letter their second cousin's uncle was and all this stuff. I'm like, what in the hell are you talking
Jeff, I tried to forget that.
Come on, that was
I think I answered Dick Shiner, Buzz Nutter, Frank Webb just on repeat. It was like looped.
I know. Yeah, you ruined Dave went to bed that night and his wife couldn't sleep because he complained about it all night. I was like, I can't believe Jeff ruined my game.
I thought that was one of her best ones yet. I loved it.
Hey, it wasn't Jeopardy on Jeff's birthday. Remember when your wife messaged me and said, "Hey, remember it's Jeff's birthday. You have a show tonight." I'm like, "Oh, Dave, let's do Jeopardy." He's like, "Let's do it."
Or we used to do remember we had the brackets for Halloween candy and stuff.
Oh yeah. We had best wrestling entrance music. I had best. Oh, I remember doing the brackets for the best TV theme song, but it had to have lyrics. We were going to do the non-lyric one, but that was during our wonderful after party days.
The after party days, yeah.
It was also during COVID, and we
were all very bored.
Yeah, it was a lot hard. We had more time on our hands, and it was a lot harder to come up with ideas.
All right, this has been good. Let's do final thoughts, Brian. I know you got something. Go for it.
All right, yeah, this is simple to me. People are worried about Cam Hayward, and they're getting put off when Cam Hayward comes out and says, "Look, even though I want to end my career here in Pittsburgh, I have a couple more years left in me. If it's not on the cards, I'll play somewhere else." That's not treason, folks. That's not the worst thing to say. We just talked about Troy Polamalu earlier, and we love the fact that guys like Troy and Hines Ward didn't go to other teams. But if the Steelers make a business decision, why couldn't Cam Hayward? I hope it doesn't come to that. I want to see him retire that 97 in black and gold. But if it doesn't, and it's best for his family, you know what? If Jeff and Dave got rid of me today, I'd be looking to be on another podcast and then crush them in downloads.
Yeah, but Cam shouldn't have said the Browns thing though.
No.
You got to keep Cleveland out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You can't say that was bad. I agree with everything else you said, though, for sure.
Yes, I do. You got to slap that stank out of your mouth if you're even going to bring that up.
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, it's I still support Cam on this, but I agree what you're saying. But you just saw Patrick Queen come over, and oh, by the way, I'm going to jump in one more little bit to this. I am tired. One thing that I am tired of hearing from Ravens fans is like, well, they saw me wearing a Patrick Queen jersey the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we hate to lose him." But, and this was one of the cooler Ravens fans I know.
You didn't do anything until Roquan Smith got there.
Yeah, the Roquan Smith thing. So I am rooting for Patrick Queen more than anything to shut those purple people up.
And I do want to bring attention that Brian's wearing his brand new Michael Vick jersey. So that's going to show that off. That looks good. Yep. Nice. They even put the 50-year Immaculate Reception patch on there. That's nice.
Yeah. In my recent jerseys that I got, if I wanted to go ahead and get the block numbers, because I love block numbers, that's the only thing I hate about the Steelers is they don't wear block numbers all the time. but the patch came with it, and so it's not authentic to have a Fields on here. But I don't care. I love the jersey, and I love this patch.
It's a Justin Fields jersey for those in the audio side that are like, what is he wearing a Michael Vick jersey for? It's a Justin Fields jersey.
I actually love when Jeff does it.
I honestly did. I thought it was Mason Rudolph.
I actually love when Jeff does that.
Jeff.
Well, it's like when we did the kick heard around the world, you wore your 23, and I was like, oh, he's got his Mike Mitchell jersey.
That's the only time I was mad at you. Any other time, I think it's funny because you got me with Robert Spillane last week.
But that was not the story, Jeff. That was not the kick. Wasn't
the finny pants. He was wearing the
jersey. It was the finny pants. It was the 12 sizes too small finny pants.
Oh, the kicker around the world. You can still find that, folks. If you're listening on YouTube and you're like,
people that
or you're watching on YouTube, you're like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? You got to go back and find the kicker around the world. It was a whole thing.
Well, with X, formerly known as Twitter, we could bring that back for the anniversary of that.
When is that anniversary?
It was right before the opening game of New England, when they played New England on Sunday night. So what was that, 19 maybe? 18?
The problem is, you guys. Oh, we're still doing the show. I just thought we were chatting.
Oh, it was definitely 19 because that's the day that I got hit by a car in the Starbucks parking lot in Winchester, Virginia.
Oh,
true story.
Hey, we'll recreate it this year.
But
I'm getting hit by a car.
Oh, no, not that.
You guys started me on a path at that moment because I had blocked it from my mind that I did not believe I was old and it wasn't in that moment doing that kick. It was when I went outside to say, you know what, I'm going to take a couple practice kicks before we go and do this. That's when I was old. I didn't even think I was going to be able to do that kick because of how my hamstrings were after just trying to do a couple practice kicks at my house. And when I did that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so old. I can't do this anymore. So, now I can't even throw a ball overhand thanks to you guys because now I just feel old and can't do it.
Thanks to me, like you blame me for your back problems because I fixed your golf swing. My apologies.
You did fix my golf swing.
You're such a despicable jerk, Jeff.
You did it again a week ago. Now, it didn't help me this week when I was golfing, but it helped me last week. That's golf.
I can't be your full-time swing coach.
I need Jeff there every time, every swing, and I'll never miss.
All right, Dave, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, my final thoughts. My final thoughts are all over the place, just kind of like this conversation has become. No, my final thoughts is I talk about this during the season, that you also need to remember it during training camp. And that is every time the Steelers take the field, it's new data that you gain. You get week 1 data and then, week 2 actually tells you, puts week 1 into perspective. I've said that a long time. Someone had a big upset. Well, the team that they beat crushed somebody else. That's because they're actually a good team that you weren't expecting to be. Things of that nature. So, and then you get 3 and 4 games into it, and you've got a decent set of data to draw better conclusions. We are 1 unpadded practice into training camp. And everything that I've seen here in our live chat, that's been wonderful. They're not jumping to crazy conclusions either. You're going to get an opportunity to get more data throughout training camp. That's just 1 day. After tomorrow, we'll even have more data. Maybe we'll get some data with Russell Wilson this time and various things. Next Tuesday, we'll get excited to get even more data when they put the pads on. Things like that. So remember, with every day of practice, it increases, it adds to the greater body of work of what is going on with Steelers training camp, all leading up to, I'm excited that they're in camp now. I'm excited they got to practice, but we've got 2 main things to look for now. A first padded practice, and then seeing them out there on the field against another team in that first preseason game. It'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out all of our content on our podcast only side, like my Let's Ride podcast tomorrow, Friday morning. I talk about some of the stuff Dave just mentioned. Also, all of our audio only podcasts, anywhere we get your podcast, search Steelers or Steel Curtain Network, you'll find us. And please, please, please give SteelCurtainNetwork.com a shot. We've been putting out some great work. Our Training Camp Confidential has been a huge success so far. We have 1 more day of really awesome content, so make sure you check it out. steelcurtainnetwork.com.
Phenomenal stuff, Jeff. Phenomenal. That's how I prepared for this show.
Thank you.
Looking at your tracker that you and Dave put up there. It's amazing.
Dave. It's just Dave. So
that's my labor of love, man.
Okay.
Jeff, I put enough work into it, everybody.
Okay, Jeff, you suck. Dave, great.
Hey, you're welcome. All right, that's it for the Steelers preview. We'll be back next week. Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hi.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.